CIA agent Evelyn Salt is being tortured in a North Korean prison in order to get her to confess to being a spy because they won't believe her when she says she's just visiting for business. Ted, a fellow agent, later agrees to a prisoner exchange on her behalf. Ted and Salt both find this confusing because according to the regulations, saving one life isn't worth endangering the safety of hundreds. However, Salt's friend Mike persuaded the CIA to take this action. Mike petitioned the Senate and the State Department after finding out what had happened to her, and the CIA gave in to prevent bad press. Mike and Salt are married and cohabitating with a dog and his collection of spiders because Mike is an arachnologist. Salt is currently working on paperwork at the CIA, but one day, Agent Peabody requests her help because she speaks Russian and questioning a Russian defector who has just arrived. The man's name is Orlov, and he remarks that a husband must be a distraction for an agent after immediately noticing Salt's wedding ring. He explains that he has cancer and that he once worked for the FSB. After the system verifies both of these facts, he is allowed to talk about his experience. A Russian patriot came up with a strategy to destroy America in 1975. He started abducting infants and raising them as the best spies in the world by indoctrinating them with his ideology and quirks. These warriors were transported to the United States as sleeper spies when they were mature enough to wait patiently for the day when they might attack from within. It's almost time for Agent KA-12 to carry out his planned assassination of the Russian president during the funeral of the American vice president. The CIA operatives feel Orlov is selling smoke since the COP program is a Cold War myth, so they conclude the interrogation. Salt tells Orlov that KA-12 is Evelyn Salt as she prepares to leave. In response to Orlov's remark about her wedding ring, Salt fears she is being set up and asks Ted for permission to call Mike. However, Mike does not answer. Peabody locks Salt in an office while he decides what to do next because he still needs to weigh all of his alternatives. Two agents try to move Orlov to a different room by using the elevator, but Orlov kills them both by shocking them with a knife he has hidden in his shoe. When Orlov leaves the building, the CIA is so busy coming up with a tracking plan that Salt can simply excuse herself from her desk by saying she has to go potty. She is able to use the emergency stairs, but the agents eventually notice and begin locking all the doors. Salt grabs a fire extinguisher to obscure all of the security cameras, and Ted calls her directly to her phone to point out that this makes her appear guilty, but Salt doesn't care. Her priority is finding her husband. She gets to the closet and mixes the cleaning supplies inside a table leg, so when the tactical team comes after her, this makeshift bomb explodes in their faces. Then she steals a gun from one of the agents and smashes a window, allowing her to escape. Salt takes a taxi after running for a few blocks and calls Mike again, but he still doesn't pick up. Salt then destroys her SIM card in case she is being followed and recalls Ted telling her years ago to befriend Mike. It could be the perfect cover to get her inside because he was an important scientist with unrestricted access to North Korea's borders. Mike is nowhere to be found when Salt returns to her apartment, and there is evidence that he has been kidnapped. Salt quickly packs a bag, including a gun and a spider, and flees through the window with her dog as the CIA arrives at her house. When they arrive at the apartment and find it empty, Peabody becomes frustrated, and Ted suggests that perhaps Salt is telling the truth and she is being set up. Meanwhile, Salt is climbing the building and visiting her young neighbor to ask her to look after her dog while she is away. Salt, too, takes advantage of the opportunity to change into new clothes and begins to think about Mike again. Salt used to frequent the museum just to befriend him for the mission, but she eventually became genuinely interested in him. Salt then exits the building wearing a hat, but Ted recognizes her and they begin chasing her through the city. They eventually manage to surround her on the highway, and Salt tries to explain that she is innocent. Someone is setting her up to distract the CIA from the true assassination of the Russian president. Nobody believes her, so Salt decides to jump off the highway, lands on a truck, and flees. The CIA and the police start chasing her in their cars right away, prompting Salt to start jumping from truck to truck. When they get close enough, Peabody attempts to shoot her and wounds Salt on the hip, causing her to fall and continue on foot. At that point, a biker appears on the road, giving Salt the opportunity to push him away and steal his bike. This enables her to drive among the cars, leaving the CIA in the dust because they don't have enough room to follow. As Salt flees, Peabody receives a message from his research team explaining that Salt was abandoned as a child and sent to Russia, which matches Orlov's story. Salt then goes to a biker bar to cover her wound with a pad and change into new clothes, all the while thinking about Mike and the happiness they shared. She then takes a bus to New York. Recalling the day she was released from the Korean prison, she admitted to Mike that she was CIA and that their plan couldn't work. But Mike didn't care and asked her to be his anyway. When Salt arrives in New York, she stays in a luxury hotel under a false identity and steals a coat from a hanger. In her room, she removes her contacts and fake teeth, revealing the truth: she is a Russian sleeper agent. And Orlov's appearance was part of the plan to inform her of her next objective. Salt has brought a large number of weapons with her, and she uses the spider's venom to poison her bullets. She also uses a computer to download subway tunnel maps in order to begin planning the assassination of the Russian president. While dyeing her hair black, she recalls the day she was accepted into the CIA and how easily she persuaded everyone that she wanted to protect the United States. The streets are crowded the next day with all the people who came to say goodbye to the vice president. And the CIA is on the lookout for Salt, so she takes the subway. The station that should have stopped at the church is closed due to the funeral, but Salt is prepared. She throws a smoke bomb in the wagon and jumps out of the subway, using the map she downloaded to navigate the tunnels. This allows her to enter the church undetected and begin her mission. Fighting every guard in her path, she makes her way to the room directly beneath the church podium, where the Russian president is currently giving a speech. When Ted and Peabody receive word that they are losing guards, they go to investigate, but Salt is already one step ahead of them. She places a bomb on the roof of the room, and when it explodes, the floor collapses beneath the Russian president, causing him to fall into the room beneath. Salt wastes no time and shoots him with the poisoned bullet, causing Peabody to find her. Salt, much to Peabody's surprise, drops her gun and lets the cops arrest her. Ted yells at her as she is led out of the building, hurt by her betrayal. While Salt is being taken away in the police car, the Russian president is declared dead on his way to the hospital, and she recalls her childhood in the training facility. She had full plastic surgery to change her face when she was a child, plus the new name Evelyn Salt, which has an American origin. The kid in the bed next to her wondered if Salt missed them, but Salt didn't respond. When the police car arrives at the bridge, Salt begins beating up the officers, causing the vehicle to collide with other cops. Salt guides her car off the bridge after hitting as many police cars as she can, and thanks to the airbags, she lands safely. A curious crowd gathers around the crash, and Salt takes advantage of the opportunity to flee without being noticed, stealing a hat from a nearby shop on her way out. Salt later takes a boat and can't stop thinking about the day she was brought back to America to be taken by a new family with whom she would patiently wait until she received new orders. When Salt arrives at the harbor, she notices on television that there are anti-American protests taking place throughout Russia in response to what they perceive to be an act of terrorism against their president. Salt reunites with Orlov in a nearby bar, where he refers to her as his perfect creation because he's always been the man behind the Ka project and the one who trained her. He also chastises her for marrying, but Salt explains that it's part of looking normal. Orlov takes Salt to his hideout and reveals Mika is being held hostage in the water to ensure Salt's loyalty to the Russian cause. Instead of shooting him, which would be easier to bear, they start slowly drowning him to see how Salt reacts. Salt maintains a poker face, but it's clear in her eyes how much it hurts her to be powerless. Now that they know they can trust Salt, everyone greets her warmly, and Salt recognizes these men as other kids she trained. Orlov then meets with her privately, explaining that the next step is to seize control of this country's nuclear weapons. Salt will meet a NATO agent on a plane here, and he will give her the final instructions. This means Salt has all the information she requires, and in an unexpected turn of events, she grabs a bottle and quickly kills Orlov for ruining her life. Then she grabs a slew of grenades and guns and proceeds to slaughter everyone in the base without hesitation. Unfortunately, her vengeance does not taste sweet because Mike is obviously dead when she checks on him. Salt weeps as she recalls how happy she was on the day of her wedding. Salt rushes to catch the assigned flight and is greeted by Assassinated, the boy who said he would miss her. He's risen to the rank of colonel, and he'll be accompanying Salt as his attaché to the White House, where they must assassinate the American president. Assassinated also speculates that there must be other sleeper agents inside. They arrive in Washington a few hours later, and Salt puts on a man custom to match the fake ID that Assassinated got him. They pass through White House security without incident, and they notice the CIA is also present at the president's meeting. As part of the plan, Assassinated suddenly starts acting insane and pushes Salt away before shooting at everyone in his path. The guards remove the president just as Assassinated detonates an explosive, and Ted informs his co-workers that he believes Salt is nearby. Salt is taking advantage of Assassinated's distraction to steal a card key and remove her costume. She notices the agents using the elevator to transport the president to a bunker, so she knocks out the guard before forcing open the doors and climbing down the elevator shaft. When the president and the agents arrive at the bunker, Salt rushes inside the corridor just as the doors close, knocking out any guards she encounters. While Salt is destroying the panel that controls the doors and cameras, the team informs the president that intelligence has confirmed Russia is preparing missiles. The president requests that they begin considering their nuclear options while some agents investigate what happened to the doors, but Salt easily beats them up. The president contacts some army leaders in order to obtain the authorization code for their nuclear weapons. When the White House security team notices Salt approaching them, Ted requests a weapon, but the guard refuses due to protocol regarding the president's presence. Ted suddenly reveals his true colors and takes the weapons from the guard, killing everyone in the room. Ted reveals that he is also a Russian sleeper agent and asks the president for help. When the president refuses, Ted kills him as well. When Salt finally gets inside, she discovers that the final door is locked and must communicate with Ted via intercoms. Ted explains that he never told her the truth because making friends is risky, and she didn't recognize him because he was in a different class than hers. A new security team is already outside, attempting to break down the door, while Salt watches Ted, learning that he plans to launch nuclear missiles into the Middle East in order to incite those countries to attack the United States. Salt tells Ted she wants to help him and be with him, but just as Ted is about to open the door, he sees something shocking on the news. The Russian president is fine and his death was attributed to temporary paralysis, which was Salt's plan with the spider poison all along. Ted realizes Salt abandoned Russia when she fell in love with Mike, and in order to win her back, he begins explaining that he was the one who had to persuade Orlov to use Salt as an assassin's agent. Orlov didn't want to because he knew she wouldn't make it out alive, and he cared about her. Ted is also the one who asked Orlov to take Mike hostage. Hearing this enraged Salt to the point where she begins shooting at the glass in an attempt to capture him, but the window is bulletproof. While Ted uses the president's hand to authorize the missiles, Salt employs a different strategy and fires at the wall, revealing the system that keeps the locks in place. She finally gains access to the office by destroying it and begins fighting Ted hand to hand. Ted appears to easily overpower her at first, but Salt quickly pushes him away and rushes to the desk to stop the launch. At that point, the security team bursts in and shoots Salt to the ground, but she survives because she's wearing a vest. Salt is arrested, but because of the security cameras, Ted is still perceived as CIA and innocent. Peabody arrives to inspect the scene and learns what happened with Orlov and his gang, which confuses him about Salt's intentions. As the guards begin to lead Salt out, she notices Ted taking a pair of scissors from the doctor who is tending to his wounds, so she doesn't hesitate to take the initiative. Salt throws her handcuffs against Ted's neck and jumps over the railing, killing him instantly. Salt is then placed in a helicopter with Peabody, who demands answers. Salt tells him about Ted, and when Peabody doesn't believe her, she says she could have killed him and the president in the church, but she didn't. She is aware that there are more sleeper agents, and she swears she will kill them all in retaliation. Peabody realizes she's the only defense they have against moles after seeing her determination and receiving a message confirming Salt killed Orlov. But no one believes her story. They'll have to do it illegally, so Peabody lets go of her handcuffs when no one is looking. And when the helicopter flies above the river, Salt jumps out as Peabody pretends she caught him off guard. Peabody also requests that the helicopter look around, but Salt has already swum out of the river and is running through the forest. Later, the media reports that the new president of the United States has traveled to Russia for a peacekeeping mission. During his speech, he declared that all sleeper agents, including Salt, had been killed. It is also revealed that he was orphaned as a child in Russia due to an accident, implying that he is also a sleeper agent.